welcome guys to Korea Summit podcast. Here we have Kemaljan, our friend and partner from Turkey. And we have Greg from Summit US. So basically, we will talk or let's have a look on what the trending on painting industry is looking like either Europe or US. And obviously I know more or less what Brazil it's doing and is not doing. But the main aim here is to, in general lines, give some overview about how the painting industry is going and the problems, the troubles we face in either US, Europe, and we face in Brazil. And to begin with, let's start with Greg. What the painting industry looks like, what has been happening in the US, whatever, what the kind of application or technology the US market it's more trending for the following years to go for.
Right. Well, in the US, we tend to see that over the last decade, a lot of the workforce has retired, and that was a frame in time where people stayed with jobs for their career or for decades, 20, 30 years, and they were experts, they knew their product, they knew their process, and there was a lot of tribal knowledge involved in that. Well, as what the U.S. calls the baby boomer era began to retire about a decade ago, we found that the skills in the workplace to replace those people weren't there. Processes weren't set in place to bring in new people and do training. And when people retired and decided to go do other things, that all that knowledge was lost. It wasn't captured at the companies to continue efficiently maintaining their workforce. Well, along with that, the trend in the U.S. with the younger workforce coming in, they don't tend to stay at jobs as long as they used to. They jump every several years, mostly for pay increases, right? If you can make more money going somewhere else, they they jump around. So for about the last 5 years, maybe a little longer, the trend to documenting repeatable processes and automating painting systems has really grown in the U.S. Simply because you can document what's going on as people move around. You can bring people in and train them and have a robust, repeatable product at the end, right? Not bringing somebody in, you've got to retrain them if you can find people. So that's kind of the trend in the U.S. is going from manual spray and people with a lot of tribal knowledge to building robust processes that are repeatable as you take people in and out.
Great. Europe?
I think US was interesting, I think, to listen because maybe one thing Europe start before US, which is like in the main Europe, especially in like Germany, France, Italy, we are hearing a lot about the young generation. They don't want to, I don't want to say that they don't want to work. I need to use my language in a careful
the verbiage we use in the U.S. is they don't want the entry-level jobs.
Exactly. They
want the higher paying, higher technology jobs. Nobody wants to put a spray gun in their hand and stand in a paint booth for 8 hours a day.
Exactly. So also in Turkey, also in Europe, we see that a lot actually. So when we check the younger generation, maybe they're right also. They would like to continue more higher level job. Mm-hmm. Like you can find easily engineer now, for example.
Yes.
The entry level engineer easily. But if you want to find entry level good painter who is giving everything. It's very hard. And Europe was also like migrating some people from different countries far from the Europe, like Morocco, Egypt. Before Turkey, now Turkey, no, because they are also the same. So this is one thing we also see. And also, maybe it's a bit different than US. Europe cares too much about environment. So US also, but I see also that, for example, Trump is saying that, okay, we need to use this, but in Europe, there are very tough restrictions. And I know that from now till 2030, many company has to or have to decrease their emissions and other things, so on. So also paint industry having pressure on this energy. They have to find a way to decrease their consumption of energy, but the prices are increasing also now because of many things. And also, third thing I can say as a big trend, robotics are moving crazy fast now. So I see countries like Switzerland, why I give, because the wage, the people earning very good amount of money, I can say, they are changing manual ones with robotics if they can make it. Like a smart robots, like the cobots.
The cobots.
Cobots. So they start to put rather than human, because humans are expensive in this kind of country also. So I can say like this is true.
Yeah.
What about here?
Here in Brazil, we have seen since 2 years ago more often than previous years. Same kind of constraints in terms of human resources. Right. For the same reason as Gary said, people are retrenching. People are going going out of the market, and the new generation, they don't need, or even if they need, they don't want to get an entry-level salary, same as in the US. And then you can't find people to train, not even to train. I'm not saying skilled people, forget about it. We're talking about people willing to come to learn and get a decent salary, but entrance salary anyway. And since 2 years ago, we have been noticing more companies for all the markets, even the furniture market that usually didn't get much robotics.
Okay.
Looking for robots. So we get calls at Korea from customers that medium-sized customer that had good amount of workforce, spray painters, and now they are interested and they're looking with another eyes to the robotic application. But the thing is, the price levels for Brazil for the robot was still quite high. Why? It's because we have a unique situation for duties and taxes. So whatever cost 10,000 euros in Europe is double up the price here, because 20,000 due to the transport and taxes. So it was an investment. Yes, everybody wants to do, would love to do, but it was too expensive. From 2 years, 3 years ago at least, we start seeing lots of other robots coming on board. Okay. Chinese, for instance, with very good quality, delivering a minimal need to be able to take a person from a painting line and replace by a robot. Yes, we have still the big brands, especially the brands that service the automotive market, OEMs, because they're quite expensive equipments, but for that level of production, the investment it's valid for them, not for a medium-sized furniture company, for instance. But now, since 3 years ago, we see the same trend. The main force, the human being, they disappear from painting line. You can't find it anymore.
So step by step, it's changing
everywhere. Yeah, it's very fluid in the U.S. too. Not only is the workforce we're trying to automate, the coatings and the technologies to again reduce energies, right? A lot of materials are going to very high solid materials, plural component materials to minimize ovens and curing specifications. You get into a lot of water-based or water-reducible materials that don't have the carrier co-solvents that create the VOCs. So that's a big push right now, is developing equipment that works seamlessly with the new coatings that are coming on the market, because a lot of them are really challenging, right? Yeah. They dry very fast, they're very thick, they're very hard to atomize, very hard to transport through pumping systems. So a lot of them are very shear sensitive. So if they go through equipment that has any pinch points or shear points in it, it'll degrade the quality of the materials. So there's a lot of work being done, coming up with very simple, streamlined products that don't have shear points, that are low energy to run. In the automotive world, and now it's starting to move to the industrial world, is electric paint pumps. So reducing the amount of compressed air being consumed in a system is a very high priority for a lot of customers, and just making the process robust and as inexpensive as possible per part being manufactured. So the investment costs, like you said, the robots are very expensive. You've got to hire a higher level person to run them, but over time, the cost per part
much lower
when you make the initial investment.
Sure.
Exactly.
And more, I talk to my friends in Europe and South America, it's becoming a global economy. It's any medium to high level customers, they don't just look down the road for their materials, for their equipment, for their servicing, so on and so forth. With the advancements in just logistics in the world, moving things around the world, and price points, it's really becoming more and more a global economy. And there's choices. So if customers still want to manufacture in the U.S., they have to come up with a financial advantage to continue to manufacture in the U.S. Otherwise, the manufacturing will no longer be in the U.S. Yeah. And I think a lot of the more populated, higher technical countries around the world are seeing the same thing.
Yeah, I think so.
In Brazil, same as in Europe, in Brazil we have lots of manufacturing facilities that are branched from either European or American plants. So they manufacture in Brazil. Up to a few years ago, they were allowed to follow just local rules and regulations. And one regulation that is quite okay and wide comparing to Europe and US is the VOC levels. Right. So the VOC used to be like a law over there, but then the range was quite wide, so you could play. It's a little bit okay. And now the especially Europeans that are manufacturing in Brazil, they are under strict push and high pressure to both things: reduce the VOC emission and reduce the energy consumption as well. So customers looking for technology on paint technology to either reduce the oven temperature on baking or switch it off completely. Yeah. And other is paint savings as well, because as you save the paint, you reduce the consumption, right. You also reduce the VOC emission. Yeah. So be more efficient and be more energy consumption level at lowest possible level. It has moved from do if you can to you must do it.
Right.
So there is lots of pressure on this sense, and obviously we get requested by so many different customers that are now and then under such pressure, and they say, well, we have to do what a company say we must do it. So we present then lots of technology, either on the spraying side, pumping and guns and high transference efficient kind of, or technology that can, even if the system is a good system already, what is the best established, but with some plug and play or some another technology, like nitrogen, for instance, to help them to go further and reduce that.
I think you are right. In one hand, it's hard because a lot of restriction, a lot of other things that we have to improve or fix. But as you said, for example, in Chromavis, we are helping companies also to decrease this reducing of VOCs and decreasing paint consumption as much as we can. Because now optimization is not just a thing like nice to do, it's kind of necessary. And I also see that when you say, like, for example, in Brazil also you have this kind of issue from the automotive companies or European countries. As I told you, after 2030, I think if you want to supply, for example, one big automotive manufacturer in Europe based, you have to
comply.
Exactly. They will have some compliance. Otherwise, you cannot be their first tier, second tier, even the third tier, I think. So this is kind of very interesting. And I have one thing on my mind. I have really no idea. It confuses my mind also. I use also for my business, our business, but AI is going crazy fast and unbelievable, man. Also in paint industry, I think in future it will enter in one way, and they step by step they start. And I can ask, like, maybe Samet, it's a huge company, as you know, they are even start to working some kind of this project, I believe.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're just starting to dip our toes into the AI world. A lot on the quoting and the conceptual side. I know that some of the robot manufacturers are trying to get virtual programming or AI vision systems and stuff like that. But from the Samez side, we're really trying to figure out where we can apply AI to, again, make all of our processes more efficient, more repeatable, and better every day. So that's new. Not sure where it's going to go, but it's going somewhere quick, wherever it's going.
Same in Brazil. The thing is, the only thing that holds us back in Brazil are the amount of taxes we pay whenever we import, either if it's a pump, a spray gun, or an nitrogen generator or whatever, or robot, even a robot that we import. The government is just not giving the necessary help to try to spread those technologies slightly quicker to the industry. But like Kemal said, 2030 is approaching, and when we reach that mark, everybody will have to do. There will be no choice. Or either you do it, or your good customers or high volume customers, they will disappear overnight. So, or either they speed up, and we have been telling the customers this: listen, guys, 2030 is around the corner. If you don't do it, if you don't start projects and thinking about and make it viable now, when the time arrives, you'll be left behind, because somebody will jump in with a better idea, or with the technology, or with the necessary energy, and believe on this new trend to reduce the VOC, to make it things to work faster, and to have more and more environmental carbon footprint, an environmental footprint, then you'll be left behind. The same we're doing for our furniture market, for instance. We export lots of furnitures to the US.
Right.
And the rules and regulations that are there force the local market to look more for water-based material and for less VOC generation. So you better watch yourself and do it. Otherwise, I won't buy from you. So this is a reality since a few years ago, but then it's pushing more and more towards the wall. So against the wall, we have to. It has been a bit tough with the government, with the amount of taxes. Instead of helping and reducing, they're just increasing and creating new ones. So we have to be magics here. I'm not saying you're not having the same troubles in the US and Europe, but I mean, here it looks like much worse. Do you guys see any kind of movement from the government itself in terms of making or helping the industry, either in Europe or in US, to really go towards this 2030 mark to reduce? Or you see these like more like a companies, individual companies movement?
Yeah, in the U.S. with the current establishment there, I think it's being pushed down to the corporations and the companies. They have their benchmark, they have where they need to be, and they need to figure out how to get there. There's not a lot of government influence on how to get there or assistance to get there.
Maybe before a bit more.
Maybe before it was a bit more, but yeah, I think
now you're busy with other things.
Companies are really hiring people to look at these things and plan for the future. But again, everything's really fluent in the U.S. You hire somebody to do a 5-year project. Well, 3 years in, they're gone. Somebody else comes in. So the only thing that's very unique right now, I think, in the U.S. is the speed of change is faster than I've ever seen it, and I don't see it slowing down. The days when I started, I've been doing this for 32 years. When we got customers, we set a process, put equipment in, and they did the same thing for 20 years. Now, if you sell a process, you're lucky if it's installed, running, and signed off before they try and change something or make it different or better right before you even get started. So the speed of change is going to be something that is going to be very, very difficult to keep up with, and I don't see it slowing down. And that's not only on it's on the manufacturing process, it's on the application side, it's on the material side, whether it's liquid or powder, or I know there's a lot of looking at different type of plastic wraps to go on vehicles now instead of painting them. So don't know where it's going to go, but you really got to pay attention because the rate of change is just more than it's ever been.
In Europe, you see any government big effort?
Also, in Europe, it depends on your country, actually. Europe is a bit strange, I can say. For example, if I'm going to talk about Turkey, Turkey is not in European Union, so it's kind of mess now. Similar problems that you are saying with governments, but also sometimes some supports. But inside of main Europe, for example, rather than now, if you want to produce something in North Italy, if you go to produce something in Bulgaria, if it's possible, European Union is giving serious amount of, how can I say this? Not money, but incentive. Okay, tax incentive to there. Or inside of companies, countries, there are different rules. Again, Italy example. North Italy, nothing. South Italy, again, incentive decreasing in tax, and they would like to put other places or other environments also, let's say, a similar level. But on the other hand, if you can make yourself inside of this rules of VOC regulations, blah, blah, European Union has huge amount of, again, some money to give, let's say.
incentives and support.
Yes, support to give. But inside of the European companies also, government is just pushing. So this is the regulation. You have to do it. But maybe it's a bit more supportive than, let's say, Turkey, Brazil, USA. I can say something like this. And we know that in Brazil, it's already tough and hard.
Yeah.
And how you are taking care as a Korea with this? Are you doing anything or?
Well, here we don't have this kind of big support from the government, similar to in the US. It's down to the companies to cooperate, and obviously the companies that are ruled by European laws or American laws, they more intend to do the investments and really look after the productions and the Spain savings and so on. And the others that are not European, overseas based, also do it, but most times more for the economy, for the savings in terms of cost for the final product. Or obviously, it ends up being a benefit to the environment and to the VOC, but there is no any kind of big support from the government. We have, like you said, one country or two. In Brazil, we have one or two incentivized areas or things, but yeah, all of us, we have the challenges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, guys, thank you very much for your time, and you are already invited to the next Korea Summit. Hopefully, it's going to be in a year's time, and I hope to see you guys over there as well. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
Cheers.